that a little quicker if you just start typing in part. It'll take you right to the part. If I wanted a product, it's going to take me to product right away. So we want part. I'm going to click OK. And I want to give it a name. If you notice, this file is named My First Digital Project. So I'm going to call this My First Digital Project and underscore and put my name there just so I know that it's different from this example file. And we're going to have enable hybrid design and create a geometric set checked in this case, and click OK. Now the first thing you're going to see, and we're talking about the model tree here because this is really where everything exists for your model. So the first thing you see is the part file at the top, and then you see 3 planes, which define the 3 directions in your 3D space. If I select those and say unhide, you can see them right in the center there. My X, Y, and the other planes. And then I have my initial geometric set and the part body. And we're going to start creating everything we're doing inside this geometric set. It's already, you can see it's already defined. This is something that you want to be conscious of when you're building geometry, that you know where you're building it. So in this case, if I were to build something in this part body, I would go right-click and say Define a Work Object, and you'll see that becomes underlined. In this case, we want to build everything we're going to be doing inside the geometric set .1. So I'm going to right-click and say Define a Work Object, and you can see it's underlined. So it's going to be everything that I build now is going to be built within that geometric set. So the first thing we're going to do is build a sketch. I'm going to pre-select my XY plane. That's the plane that I'm going to use to draw the sketch. And then I'm going to press the position sketch icon in the upper left here. It's going to automatically place that XY plane as the reference. Everything else, all the other presets are fine. We just click OK. In your case, I think you may see the sketch reposition in the top view. I generally, my preference is I don't work that way, but that's kind of the default, that you'll see it reposition to the top view. So now I'm going to draw the perimeter sketch that you saw in the previous file. I'm going to go to my rectangle tool over here on the right. So these, just so you see, these are all the sketch tools. Rectangle, circle, this is spline, ellipse, line. So I'm going to use the rectangle tool here. And you'll notice that when I mouse around, there'll be kind of a blue, there'll be this kind of blue symbols that will show up. And what that's indicating is the constraints that will be automatically placed on the object when I draw the sketch. So in this case, I'm gonna wait until this vertical dotted line is present, because it's gonna link up to my vertical direction here. You'll see it kind of turn blue, and the vertical direction will turn orange. So I click that, and then I drag over to and then you'll see the horizontal direction will turn orange. It's selected, and I'll get a horizontal blue dotted line indicating that it wants to create constraint. And so basically, drawings in Digital Project, they're live drawings. They don't you don't draw a set of lines and then erase and redraw if you need to change them. what you draw, you keep, and you just reconstrain and change the dynamics of the sketch. So in this case, I basically have 6 constraints. I have 2 vertical constraints that are keeping these 2 lines vertical. As I drag and move this around, you see. And then I have 2 horizontal constraints, keeping these lines horizontal. And then I have 2 coincident constraints, and those are both linked to the different directions inside the sketch here. So this point is always going to stay in line with this horizontal direction, and this point is always going to stay in line with this vertical direction, no matter where I move it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this vertical constraint and hit my delete button. And right away you can see it turns white and gets rid of that constraint. And if I were to select this line and drag it a little bit, I see now it no longer is constrained to the vertical direction. I'm going to do that to the other vertical. I'm going to select it and hit delete, and the upper horizontal also. And so you'll see if I select this point now, these lines move around. They're no longer constrained. I'm going to keep this horizontal. And last thing I'm going to do is, the last thing I'm going to create in this sketch is I'm going to create a line of symmetry. So I go over to my line tool over here, and I'm going to make sure that in this case I'm in construction mode. So I'm going to click this construction standard element button here, and I'm going to mouse over this point until I see a circle with a solid circle in the middle, and that means that it's now locked over that point. When I click it, I'm going to go over to the other point and do the same. I'm going to wait until I see a circle with a solid circle inside. So now this line, which is a construction line, is not going to be used outside of the sketch at all, but I need to use it internally. So what I'm going to do is hold down my control key, select the horizontal line, and then select its neighbor that I'm going to make symmetrical, and finally the middle construction line as the third element. And I'm going to go over in the upper right here to constraints, defined, and dialog. There's two buttons here that are called constraint. You want to use the upper one, constraints, defined, and dialog box, for when you're creating new constraints in your sketch. So I'm going to click that, and you'll see there are a lot of options here, many of which are grayed out. And basically it knows based on what you've selected what your options are. The ones you have available are the ones that are not grayed out. So I'm going to select the symmetry and click OK. And so now you'll see this new symbol show up, which is a symmetry symbol. And so now when I move it, you notice that the upper line still moves freely, but the lower line, the line to the right here, stays constrained to this symmetrical through this line here. So I'm going to do the same for the other side. I'm going to hold down my control. I'm going to select this line, and then this upper line here, and then the middle sketch. And I'm going to select the Constraints Defined dialog box button, the upper one here, and say Symmetry again. And what I like to do when I'm building sketches is just every once in a while grab an edge or a point, one that's not green, that's not fully defined, and just kind of move it around a little bit, just a little